Hey YouTube, and welcome to Munich, home of course to BMW. There's a BMW Museum right behind me. Over the road we've got BMW Welt, and then factory just here as well. So this is a pretty awesome place to come visit, especially being as I've driven here over 1,300 kilometers in my BMW Mini. Now, you might know that the BMW Mini is the first car that I ever actually did any circuit racing. Some time ago I went up to Knock Hill and did a load of races in the Celtic Speed Mini Cooper Cup. Ever since then I've had a Mini John Cooper Works as my road car. It felt quite fitting to me therefore to drive the car all the way to Munich. I understand Minis are actually made in Oxford, but you know, guys, come on, it wouldn't have made such an interesting video. On top of that, I even met Frank Stephenson a couple of weeks ago. He redesigned the Mini in 2000. Lovely guy, got to meet him. He signed some photographs of my car going around the Nordschleife. Really awesome experience. Yeah, it feels very fitting to be here today, especially as I've been racing a BMW M240i Racing Cup car in the Nürburgring Endurance Series this season, and obviously racing in the Nürburgring 24 Hours a few weeks ago. I'm going to take you guys around the museum first, and then we're going to go over the bridge in front of me to BMW Welt, where we're going to check out some of the latest BMWs, have a good look around there. I think they've got a Mini Centre too. They've also got the Next Gen conference, which is happening. I'm actually going to be part of that as well, which is why I'm here this weekend. Really exciting to be working with BMW on this campaign. Anyway, let's go around the museum and yeah, check out BMW. Well guys, here we are in the BMW Museum. It's very quiet. There's not many people, so I feel quite self-conscious about making too much noise. As you come in, you see the first car they ever produced, the first motorbike, so on and so on. And you learn things that you just perhaps didn't really know about the brand. Like for example, BMW stopped from making cars at one point, and so they went into producing motorbikes. There were people at the company who rode bikes who thought this was a great idea, there was a great market open to them. And the company kind of adapted and navigated its way through that period in time and ended up therefore making motorbikes, cars, trucks and all kinds of other vehicles. BMW had its origins in one of the companies it was created from in aircraft production. The philosophy of making aircraft very lightweight, which is obviously important in aircraft design, became something that was integral in BMW design, and the whole philosophy of making their cars very lightweight and efficient. Interesting. And here we've got lots of their engines. This engine behind me, out of a 2005 Formula One car, when BMW was the engine supplier to Williams. Check out the size of the clutch on it, it's tiny. Amazing to see all these engines up close. This is something I've never seen before. Like silver carbon fibre. Never seen it done like that. That's super cool. This engine is out of one of my all-time favourite cars, the BMW M3 GTR. If you've never watched Hans Stuck post a lap around the Nordschleife in this car, it's one of the most committed bits of onboard I've ever seen.
Absolutely flat. Shortly before the jump into the fifth gear, down the hill. Stay on the gas, no lifting. Right, left. Up to Schwalbenschwanz, almost 250 here.
Pretty compact little engine really. I actually went to see this car compete at Donington in the 2001 European Le Mans series, and it was mega. There were just massive flames coming out the side of the exhaust. It had a side exit exhaust on the sill, and I just remember, yeah, it was the car that left probably one of the biggest impressions on me. I love seeing things like this, how they design them to make sure that the lengths are all equal or unequal, but how they then tune the length of the exhaust manifold to make sure that it's optimizing the amount of power coming out of the engine. You look at it in isolation and it looks like maybe it just happened by chance that they all ended up in this kind of shape, the way they all fit together. In actual fact, all those things were carefully worked out. And when you look at the engines that manufacturers were making back in the 80s for Formula One, around the time that turbocharging came in and the cars were producing insane amounts of power. So this engine used to make about 800 brake in race trim, but for qualifying they'd boost it up to around 1,100 horsepower. Obviously, engine manufacturers have problems with engines just detonating. I remember hearing a story that BMW used to basically source cars, road cars that had done crazy mileage, like 300,000 kilometers or more, because the engine blocks, the cylinder heads had been through so many heat cycles and so much stress testing just through the amount of road mileage that they were intrinsically like battle hardened basically. So they would buy these old cars and just use the blocks to then machine them to make the blocks for their race engines. Pretty cool, huh? I'm sure that's true anyway. That's what someone told me. So I'm pretty sure this engine, or a slightly later development of it, is what one of my friends, David Mayon, used to run in his Norma 3 litre. In fact, all the 3 litre Norma prototypes competing in hill climb run the BMW Straight 6 3 litre engine. And it was one of the most wild sounding engines I've ever heard. It's the engine that was in the BMW M1 as well. And especially when it's race tuned, it just makes the wildest noise. Like, I remember every time it was started up in the garage, even when you're used to being around race engines and the noise that they produce, this thing was just like someone had woken up hell. I just love geeking out at all these engines, you know, seeing them when they've just been so beautifully displayed, you know, and they're all like perfectly like painted and chromed, and seeing them on their plinths along this whole display. Yeah, I love geeking out at the engineering that's gone into them and looking at all the cars that they were built into, and yeah. I never knew that BMW made a marine engine for a speedboat. See? Learn something new every day. And they even made jet engines. Look at this thing. Wow. How often do you get to look inside a jet engine, huh? And big radial engines. The engine from the Focke-Wulf. Look at this thing. It's massive. Absolutely mammoth. So many 3 Series, but which one is your favourite? One thing I always love are really old retro posters. My degree was graphic design, and I love looking at things like, things like that, which are just really simple, and then just looking through the different kind of ages, like into the 60s and the 70s. Look at that. Super cool, just super cool. That's another one, 1973. That's awesome. Like the 24. So in 1937, Ernst Jakob Henn set a new world record on this motorbike. He drove it to just under 280 kilometers an hour. Pretty awesome. Must have been a bit hairy. And check out the helmet that he wore too. It's pretty funky. Anything in the name of aerodynamics. I've never seen a full life-size clay model before. It's really interesting looking around it. You know, even in 2020, where we can use CAD/CAM to create things on computers in 3D, designers still use clay models to work on final designs and to be able to actually just see something physical that you can walk around from all angles and just see the way the light hits it. And yeah, it's interesting looking at this and just seeing all the individual marks across the surface from where they've taken bits out and put bits back in and sculpted the form of the car. It also makes me wonder, having met Frank Stephenson a few weeks ago, if he's here somewhere in one of these pictures. I'm sure he is. Maybe he even made some marks on this car. We'll never know. Let me know, Frank. Put a comment in the box. I was just about to say, where are the goddamn race cars? And then I walked in here and I was like, ooh, that's where the race cars are. This is just beautiful. One of the most iconic cars, the 3-litre CSL from 1975. Just, look at it. Like the Batmobile, the original Batmobile race car. And just check out as well inside how basic it is as well. Check this. Like, all you have inside is basically a big vent coming up from the steering column, which is probably quite nice, because I can imagine it gets quite hot in there. A gear shift and a couple of switches and some LEDs. And that's how they rolled in 1975. Actually, this is the engine that I was talking about earlier, the M88. It was in the BMW M1, I'm pretty sure. Someone will probably tell me I'm wrong, but it was in this car. If you hear it in the M1 Pro car, just Google it, look at it on YouTube, listen to it. Oh man, it sounds absolutely epic. This is the engine that was in David Mayon's Norma 3-litre. Also in a lot of Oscilla, is it PA20 hill climb prototypes? Again, the kind of cars that got me interested in European hill climbing. They run this engine, especially when it's all been race tuned and it's on straight pipes. Makes the most beautiful noise known to man or woman. So, got to get a motorbike, guys. What do you think to this?